are talking today about college, if college is going on, what's going to happen with the pandemic. I'm Kim Anderson from Anderson and Bobak.
I'm Jessica Marshall.
And hello, it's Jan Bobak. Welcome to our Talk Tuesday.
Yeah, I think we all thought we'd be out of this pandemic by now. Well, not necessarily out of it, but things would be more back to normal. And I'm hearing that even the school kids are not going back to school in the fall in some of the suburbs. So not sure how college is going to work this year either.
Yeah, right now it looks like there was a website, I can't remember who put it out, where you could look up each school and see what their plan was. And it was like a green light if they were planning on being on campus, a yellow light if they were considering remote and on campus, and then red if they're not going at all, which I don't think anybody was. But for the Illinois state schools, at least for ISU and for U of I, Champaign-Urbana, right now they're planning on being on campus. So I'm sure there will be updates to that. So we'll see. But I think, go ahead.
Yeah, I think they're going to plan on being on campus, and I know there's just going to be a lot of things in place, social distancing, extra sanitizers, hand washing, whatever they're going to put in place. But what I've been hearing a lot is about college expenses. We all of us, I know, are dealing with cases about college expenses. Well, and there may be an order in place that you have to pay for all these expenses. So what happens if they don't go back to school? That's one of the things that I've been facing. So if a child is staying at home, e-learning, what happens to the expenses you're ordered to pay for room and board?
Right. I heard last semester, even though everybody left, like February or March, that room and board money was not given back. So you paid for something that didn't even happen. So that's a problem too. But if it's a cost and they had to pay it, there's not much we can do on our end for that.
They didn't even give them a credit?
I don't think that I'm even hearing about that.
Huh.
Keith wants to know if you could give him that website. Do you know which one it is, Jessica?
I saw that. I'm trying to look right now and see if I can find the specific article I was talking about, because there's a couple. There's a Chronicle article, but this one's from late April. There's one that was more recent.
That'd be a good resource. Is like you said, you put in the name of the school, and if it's red, yellow, or green, that'd be a great resource.
Yeah, maybe it was Forbes. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. I will look for it, Keith, and for us as well to keep a copy so we can look at our clients' kids' schools too and keep an eye out.
Yeah, when you find it, just put it in the chat. That'd be good. A lot of people may be interested in taking a look at that.
Yeah.
Okay.
My alma mater is yellow.
But if you paid for room and board at the college, and the kid's not going, is there still going to be room and board at the parent's house? So that'd be interesting. I mean, our statute allows for it. I haven't seen many judges award it, but in light of this, your adult child is living at home, may be working, may not be working, and they eat. You've got a roof over your head, you've got electricity for air conditioning and heat. So there are costs associated with having your child at home. An extra child at home that you thought you were kind of, I don't want to say getting rid of to go to college. So I'm sure that will be considered by the courts now too.
Yeah.
I'm filing petitions now for college expenses, and we're anticipating that it may very well be an issue about where does the room and board go, because somebody's going to feed and somebody's going to house the kids that aren't going back if in fact there is e-learning. So I think you're right, Kim. The statute does provide for a child who's home, and they even talk about it being on breaks. If your child's on break, you could get what it costs for your extra heat bill or your extra light bill or your extra food bill. I know, like you said, judges aren't too keen on it. It's because it's hard to calculate. It's hard to show this is how much my electric bill goes up when Johnny's home for the summer or when Johnny's home for Christmas, but it's there.
Right. Well, the transportation cost may not be there this year, you know, for the child who's out of state. We used to have to pay, you know, a certain amount of flights to come home each year during breaks and that. So maybe that will make up for at least a little bit, cut a little bit of the cost.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's an issue too, even even when there's not a global pandemic, as you were saying, it's always something that we consider when we're setting college expenses, is the summer room and board, and if there's going to be a cost reimbursed for that.
Yeah.
Well, what is included? Like if somebody needs a college expenses, what's included? What can the courts order the parents to pay?
I actually had a judge once have us look up the cost of renting an apartment in the area where the college was, and then some of that cost, like if a 2-bedroom was $1,200 and it's one person, the logic was, well, then $600 would be the rent if the kid were renting a place. And they kind of looked at what the actual costs would be, and then they imputed it to the child being at home in one case, because there's judges have a lot of discretion. Can you guys hear me okay?
You're a little muffled.
Okay. Muffled?
You're a little muffled.
I'm a little muffled? Oh, no.
Well, what about other than that? What else is in a court order parents to pay? What is included? Is it everything associated with going to college? What about if they want to go out on a Friday night or join a fraternity?
I've had that, the fraternity. I couldn't believe the judge said that had to be contributed to, because that just seemed a little over the top. But that's with some parents who that makes a difference, you know, and that's like part of their college experience to get to go do that. I have had a judge order that. At least now the law says we are only capped, you know, to this cost of the in-state school, because I remember having a case where the child wanted to go to New York to go to acting school, and the cost was like $70,000 a year. And I thought, how insane is this? You know, the guy doesn't have anything to say about it, where the kid's going. The kid just picked, you know, I mean, it'd be nice if he got into Harvard or something, but $70,000 a year for acting school seemed a little harsh to me, that he had to split it, you know. So it can be everything.
So now you're saying there's a cap?
Well, it's, what is it down in Champaign now? That's the barometer, I guess. It can't go any higher. The tuition. That doesn't mean the tack-ons couldn't occur. You know, I've had judges order cell phone charges. You know, of course, books is a part of that. Any lab fees, anything that's normally a part of going to college. But what about a car? Can you imagine having to pay for a car just because, you know, your kid wants to drive around? I mean, and the insurance and the gas and yeah.
Well, I think a lot of colleges don't allow freshmen and maybe even sophomores to even have a car on campus. But I guess then you have to look at, should you purchase the car to let them drive around, or is there other transportation expenses? So yeah, although I think a car isn't something that's automatic, I think it's a consideration based on whatever the needs may be. Does the child have any responsibility, do you think?
We have a judge, and I love the judge. I don't know if I should spout his name out. But he believes that each child has a vested interest in their education and that they should contribute as well. So he's like, pick a percentage. I don't care what percentage, you know, 10%, 20%, whatever you want. And then the parents had to split the rest. But I thought that was, you know, I was a person who had to pay my entire way through school. And I know I never slept through any classes, you know, because of it, because it was my time on the line. So I can totally see parents having that view that, you know, the kids should have a vested interest in it. And I think you just have to ask the judge to do it. And if they'll do it by agreement, it's even better.
I think that they should have to definitely pay for their own spending money. Like they shouldn't be out on $5 beer night or 5-cent beer night or whatever it is on mom and dad's dime.
This is college. They can't be drinking at the bar.
Well, it depends, right? I mean, you're junior in college and you're 21.
Not
oh my God, half of college you're legally able to drink for half of it. But the but really, I think
Your college experience, Jessica, but I was not out at the bars when I was 18 or 19.
oh no, not at 18 or 19. My fake ID wasn't good enough. I couldn't get into a bar. But no, in all seriousness, if you're having fun, like it kind of goes hand in hand with the sorority or the fraternity, right? Because if it's like I was in a sorority. For the sorority I was in, your room and board, you paid because you lived in the house. So it replaced like the dorm room and board. And it was, I don't remember if it was more or less expensive or what the deal was, but it was comparable. So in that situation, if you're going to pay the room and board anyway, I could see having that expense. But like the more fun, elective type of things, I think it's a good thing for a kid to have a vested interest in their education and in their fun and whatever they're doing. I don't think that should be on mom and dad. But
right. But their job really, if you want them to get really good grades, their job is to get good grades. So I don't know. I think I would give them some sort of spending cash so they didn't have to work. But the trade-off would be, you have to have decent grades in order to do it. Because, I'm not going to pay like you say, we're not going to buy $5 beer nights.
Let me say this though. You're saying you're only going to pay if they get good grades. Does the law require them to get good grades?
Well, you have to have a C or better, if I'm not mistaken. You don't have to, the judges aren't going to make you pay for D grades, but you'd have to file a petition, which is a pain, of course. Then you have to go in and, say, look, this kid's like failing and you're making me pay. And I've had cases like that where the judge said you didn't have to pay if they weren't at least pulling a C, C average. But who wants, you go to college, who wants your kid to come out getting a C? I mean, if they're really like working it hard and that's all they can do, that's another story. But if your kid's like pretty bright and, what is the C? And I'd be like, what is that? I wouldn't want to pay for C.
So the child also has another obligation. They have to give their parents consent for their grade records, not all their records,
right?
Just their grade records. So the parents then can monitor what their kids are doing in school, correct?
Yep.
Okay. What about if the parents have a 529 account? Whose money is that according to the law?
Well,
you tell us, Jan.
It depends.
Yeah. So what if the 529 account was in existence like maybe before divorce?
Yeah. Well, most divorce agreements state where that money's gonna go. The problem I've seen, and Keith is probably listening, is where the grandparents of your ex-spouse have the 529 plan. And then it's just like, okay, what do we do with that now? Is it go for her portion? If the family had invested together in the 529 plan with the grandparents, like one big account, then who gets to decide? So there's always something to fight about.
I think generally a 529 account is what they consider to be the child's assets, because that's one of the factors, right? Mom's assets, dad's assets, and the child's assets. Yeah. So I think depending on when that money went in, I think that's how it's going to be looked at. It could very well end up being the child's portion, which comes right off the top before you divide the rest.
Yeah. And clearly after the divorce, if you've been contributing, that would be your contribution.
Yeah.
It's sticky though when it's like in the middle, at the end of the divorce. So hopefully somebody has put that in the divorce decree. But I know in that situation, I couldn't put it in there because it was in the grandparents' name and the grandparents weren't a part of the case. So
I always tell clients, and it's not popular and they don't like it, but get a new 529 account after you get divorced, just so it's very clear, like what you put in versus what was there when you got divorced. And then someone's asking what a 529 account is. It's a college savings account. It's specific. The states have different plans, but it's essentially just a college savings account.
And it has to be used for college. And if the child doesn't go to college, it goes to the child. So it's It's one of those accounts where it really does belong to the child once you set it up.
Is there anything you can do, Jan, if you've like set up and you've like, let's say you put like $200,000 in this, the kid doesn't go to college.
It goes
I
to
mean,
the child. It
You
goes
just like
to
give the kid $200,000 like score. I mean, I can see a lot of kids electing to just take that money and not go to college.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting account. I mean, it's great for purposes of what it's set up for, but yeah, if your child doesn't go to college, and I think you might be able to use it for trade school too, if it's not.
I think you can.
Yeah, I think so too. But it's my understanding that you don't get that money back. It belongs to the child once you set that account up. So, yikes.
I have not had that case yet where the kid just like says, I'm off to buy my own house, instead of, wow.
Well, who tells them that they have that option? Their financial advisor? Like what 18-year-old knows they can just take the money and run?
Yeah.
Other than the ones that are watching us right now.
Yeah. And the Supreme Court talked about this college, didn't DuPage County have this going up to the Supreme Court last year?
Yeah.
I don't know if it ever went to the Supreme Court, but it did go to the appellate court and the judge was reversed.
It was an automatic appeal to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, I never did hear what happened to that.
It was denied.
Well, the Supreme Court said, Judge Else, you can't do that.
Right.
He just threw his name right out there.
Yeah, that's the bottom line. Judge Else, you can't do that.
Right.
Although he made a lot of sense.
Say.
He made some great points, and his decision I thought was well reasoned. It made a lot of sense, but the Supreme Court just didn't like the way it was done.
Yeah. For those of us who haven't read the case,
Right.
what was the case about, Jan?
Well, it was the dad and a mom who had to pay college expenses for their child, and their child wanted to study marine biology, which no one had a problem with her studying marine biology. And I think dad was into sciences too and supported it. And she wanted to go to a college in Florida, which dad considered a party school. And he goes, I'll pay your college. I'll pay all of it. But I want you to go to a well-known marine biology college, San Diego, somewhere else. And she's like, no, I want to go to Florida. And so the judge said, you've got to pay the expenses, whatever, 40% or 30% or 20% or wherever he had to pay. So his appeal was, look, I don't mind paying, but the statute doesn't give me a say in where she goes and where I'm paying the money to. I think as a dad being ordered to pay, I should have a say in where she goes. That was the issue on appeal.
But what did Judge Else do?
Judge Else agreed with that and said that it was an archaic law. It was constitutionally challenged many, many, many years ago, 20 some years ago, saying you're treating two sets of kids differently. If your parents are married, you can't order them to pay for college. But when your parents are divorced, you can. So it really treats kids differently. Constitutional challenge didn't fly. And Judge Else was like, well, things have changed now. There's so many more families that aren't married now. There's so many more families with single parents. It's totally different than it was 28 years ago when it was challenged. So his reasoning was it's time to relook at it. And then when it was reversed by the appellate court, it went up automatically to the Supremes, or I think it might have been a direct appeal to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court didn't really say it's an archaic law, it should be changed, let's take a look at it. What they said is, I can't do it that way.
Yeah.
There's a process.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
So
at least I
it
hope
may
she
be
got
revisited. It may be revisited. I wouldn't doubt it would be revisited one day,
Yeah.
but it's going to go up the chain.
Well, I hope she at least got good grades at the party school.
I'm sure she did. I'm sure she did wonderful. I'm sure she did great in school. I'm sure she was a good student. But the dad's point was, I just want to say, and it makes sense to me. I get it.
Yeah. Well, and we always put in the agreements too that the parties shall agree to the school, just to kind of combat that problem. And even when the parties don't agree and the kid signs up, usually with a parent that's not really liking the other parent too much. The kid signs up and they like, this is the school, then they give the guy the bill. Even then the judges are making him pay, which I think is against the contract. The contract says, you know, we have to agree. If you haven't even consulted with me about the school, but you're still making me pay. But it seems like the judges always want to do what they think would be in the kid's best interest, regardless of what you've agreed to. But I'm thinking it's really not fair because they did have a contract. In essence, that's what your marital settlement agreement is. It's a contract. And if I don't even have a say, you know, but I have to pay, then I think it's a violation of the contract and they shouldn't have to.
Yeah, but it's the contract that says we agree to agree. And if they don't agree, then they mediate it or have a judge decide. It's not a violation of the contract necessarily, unless it says, if we don't agree, I don't have to pay.
Right.
Yeah.
Which
I have a
no one
feeling
would ever agree.
they would make you pay it anyway, you know?
Yeah, totally.
I mean, yeah.
Well, yeah, because you're trying to say 513 doesn't apply to me. And you're right. The judge probably wouldn't like that. I'm not sure. I'm just saying.
So there's the law and then there's what the judge will do.
Well, it's kind of the same thing with like extracurricular activities. There's always given this like, what's the kid's preference type. Like the parents will not unreasonably withhold their consent, but they'll talk to the kid as they get older about what kind of activities they want to do. And it's a much smaller scale, but parents are forced to pay for stuff all the time. I don't want my kid in hockey. I don't want my kid in swimming. Well, you're paying. So
they got to eat 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Jan doesn't believe anyone should get to eat more than once a day. It's insane. If you are ever out with Jan and she says, and I say, it's never her, I'll say, can we stop for lunch? And she goes, we had breakfast. I'll be like, most people eat 3 times a day, Jan.
So that means you don't want dinner? I mean, it's up to you. I don't care. But yeah, all these people home with kids who want to eat, I've heard more than 3 times sometimes. Jessica, your kids eat 3 meals a day?
And snacks.
I think little kids, it's different. I digress here a little bit. I think when they're little.
Teenagers. Can you imagine how much teenagers are eating?
I can't.
They can get the food themselves, usually. But this morning, I'm like, do you want eggs or French toast? I want both. I'm like, what am I, a line item chef? You want both? I have work to do.
Right.
Every day. We're getting off topic, though.
That happens because we were talking about
they
food.
can go to the dorm and they can order whatever they want.
Yeah, that's why the dorms are nice.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have any other questions here. Do you guys have anything else?
I don't. I'm happy we had the chance to talk about college. It's going to be a hot topic, I think, in the next couple of months. When we see what's going on. I think our stay-at-home order terminates on Friday, doesn't it?
Is it Friday?
No, it's been. I thought it was extended already.
No, it has not been extended. But I think the governor's going to come out with something because I think we're done on May 30th, which is Saturday.
The talk is that we're going to move into a different phase of it, but I don't.
Yeah, like phase 3. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Where you can have gatherings of 10 people or less, kind of thing.
Yeah. Jacob says his last 2 Costco bills were almost $700 each time.
That's easy at Costco though, because it's
like
everything is $25.
Well, you have to buy like 10 of everything. It's like, can I just have these 2 rolls? No, you have to have 10 rolls. What am I going to do with 10 rolls? You know, it's just like,
So that's for a college kid going? No.
Jacob didn't say.
For your household, Jacob.
She's in high school. Well, he has 3 little ones too, also.
So I didn't know that.
Yeah.
3 little ones. Wow. Mm-hmm. Congratulations, Jacob.
And an elk in his backyard with babies, right? Was it an elk? I keep thinking about that cool picture he showed us.
Yeah.
Keith wants to know when the courts will open back up, what will it look like for hearings? Right now, it's all Zoom hearings. I've had lots of hearings. Zoom, pretrial Zooms. Everything is on Zoom. I heard in Lake County, which is where Keith's case is, that a judge or 2 has the virus there. And they're not, I mean, everybody else's orders have been saying, you know, this order goes into place until this date or this date, you know, and Lake County is just like, we don't even have a date. So I don't know for now, we're all doing Zoom. So everybody get comfortable with Zoom, talk to your friends, talk to your family on Zoom, because you are going to need to know how to do it and get on.
It's working out nicely though. I will say that. I did my first full Zoom trial on Friday, and I gotta say, I preferred it. Like everything was so organized and digital, and it's easier to show exhibits, and it's all right there. You don't forget anything, not that we ever do, but it's just like,
Yeah.
it was so much easier.
Yeah.
It was so much and you can see everybody's face. Like in the courtroom, you're just looking usually right at the witness and then the judge, but you can see like your own client. You can see the other attorney. You can see everyone. And it's just so, you can chat with your client when they're not testifying and get the notes electronically. I was like pasting that right into a document for a rebuttal testimony. It was great.
Yeah. But the bad part is when you've got a client, like Genevieve had on Friday, she had a hearing too, and the client was going like this.
Yeah.
Like every time the witness, the mom testified, and normally I would be like, shut it, you know, like you just like, shut up, like stop making faces, you know, and you can't really hit them when you're on Zoom. So there's a problem.
Zoom chat them, Zoom chat. Because if you hit that down arrow, you can just select them. Just make sure you don't accidentally select everyone. And say, stop making faces.
Yeah, that doesn't go over so well. The faces with the judge, like.
I know.
But for the near future, I think we're with Zoom for quite some time. There's no indication otherwise that we'll be out of the Zoom for a while. So like Kim says, you got to get used to it. And Jacob, if I come across any Costco coupons, man, I'll send them away, because clearly $700 each time. You're only going once a year, or once every other something.
It's about, I would go once a year if I had to spend $700.
I'm not going to Costco. I'll tell you that right now.
Our neighbor, we were outside talking from our own driveways, but we kept ordering from Costco, and we're like, why don't we split stuff? Who would have thought? Like literally we live next door to each other. Why don't we just figure out what we need and order together and split it? Because it adds up.
Yeah, Keith says that working from home isn't easy, but it takes a lot of preparation, and you can't beat the travel times. Amen. You know, the travel times, and I hate to drive. I mean, you can sit me down in a car and 10 minutes later, I'm asleep at the wheel. It's like, it's horrible. I don't know what the deal is, but I hate to drive. I'm bad at it. Not bad at driving. I'm just sitting in a car is horrible for me, because it just, the train, everything. It's just, and if you ever oversleep your stop, oh my God, you break down and cry. You're so miserable because now you're out, you know, like out somewhere else.
Have you done that?
Oh my God. When I was in
No,
law
let's
school,
not talk about it.
No, wait. When I was in law school, I had to take the train at 9:30 at night. And so class let out at like 9:10, and I had to run to the train station. So I would just make it. I'd be a sweaty beast. And I would try to do my homework or whatever, and then I would fall asleep. And back then, we didn't have cell phones. That's how long it was that we were in law school. We didn't have cell phones. And I'd be like 2 stops past, you know, like where I lived in Wheaton, like, kill me now. Because
Let me just say though, that Kim was a full-time student, and she worked probably a full-time job.
And she paid for her own tuition.
And she paid, and she self-supporting. So
uphill both ways,
living expenses
in the snow.
Well, yes, that's right. Kudos to you, Kim. So now in 2020, you don't have to commute.
I know, isn't this nice?
I thought it was like improving, because if I parked my car somewhere and forgot and got off the train, I could call an Uber. I thought that was an improvement. Now I just don't have to go anywhere.
We didn't have cell phones then.
Right.
So I'd have to wait. I'd be out. I don't even know where I was, you know, because I had to go to Wheaton where I lived at the time. I don't even know where I was. And I'd get off the train, and I had to get on the other platform and wait for another train to come by, which is probably like an hour.
Right, easily.
To go 2 stops back to my house. I mean, misery.
You know, Kim and I went to law school, as did Jessica, downtown in the city. And just to show, this is how long ago it was. There was not a Starbucks anywhere. We
Where'd
didn't
you buy
drink,
your coffee?
didn't drink coffee. I never drank coffee in law school.
I actually didn't either until I started working with you guys. That's when I started drinking coffee.
Exactly. We are so far afield, my God.
Oh, okay. All right. So we want to talk about TikTok?
Oh, yeah, where's our
one?
TikTok for today? No
I wish-
TikTok?
I wish we had a TikTok for today.
Oh, I thought we were having one. Well, that's a drag. That was kind of fun.
You get sucked in. You start watching and it's like, oh my God, an hour's gone by. So I just try not to unless it's for work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we have, I wish we could see your TikTok that you made last week because there might be new viewers who'd want to see it. Maybe next time. What are we talking about next week?
I don't know if we've set the topic yet.
We're
Why
trying
doesn't
to
everybody
guess.
send us some things that they want to talk about, and then we can decide from what people tell us they want to talk about?
I tell you what I'm going to be talking about later this week is on our question is about vaccinating your children. So it's a little bit of a touchy subject.
Yeah.
But we are going to be addressing that on our Instagram page. And if you have any other questions or any hot topics, or you want to share a TikTok with Anderson and Bobak, please do.
Great. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye, girls.
All right. Bye.
Bye.